Hello. In this video, I will provide an overview of the Euro NCAP Virtual Farside 2024 VC1 reporter template, which was released in the 21.0 W1 workflow update. You can download the 21.0 W1 update from our website, if you've not done so already. The Euro NCAP Virtual Farside 2024 VC1 reporter template automatically calculates the ISO scores for all the required and monitored sensors specified in Table 6 of the Euro NCAP Virtual Farside Simulation and Assessment Protocol. The overall pass-fail status of Validation Criteria 1 is clearly presented, as well as the individual sensor scores. Additionally, the template performs a check to ensure that the simulation duration exceeds the threshold of 1.2 times the time of maximum head excursion. If the duration check fails, then this indicates that you should rerun your simulation with a greater termination time before proceeding.
Okay, so I've opened up Reporter and I'm going to filter by the automotive templates and then virtual testing. Then if you'd like Euro NCAP, but at the moment we've just got the Euro NCAP ones displayed. Then I'll find this template, which is the Euro NCAP Virtual Farside 2024 VC1, that's Validation Criteria 1 template. I can double click on that to launch it, and THIS will launch straight away. And if we wait a couple of seconds, we'll get this window to input the data that is required to run the template. So the first input is the SimVT settings file, and that is optional, and that can be used to control channel matching if it's not direct matching, and also any corrective operations, or if you wanted to use a different correlation method, you could configure that via the settings file. I'll just use the settings file to get me started, and I can click on the settings file here I prepared earlier. And we can see that the top path here is red, which indicates that the file doesn't exist anymore. So maybe that used to be a model, but I've deleted it since I created that settings file. And the bottom file works here. And I can optionally choose to replace these file paths. I'll need to in this case because this one doesn't exist, but I'm going to leave the test file path the same because I want to reuse that test to compare against my sim. So I'll now select the simulation model here. I can select either of these files, and then I want to select an output directory. So I'm just going to make a new folder called output, select that folder, and then click run. And here you can see the SimVT correlation setup window, which will be familiar to you if you use SimVT. It's changed slightly from the previous release, and hopefully it's even easier to use. You can see that when we have a direct match, the reference channel is in gray here. We've got the progress bar like before, correlate buttons, and then our channel matching rules are visible here. So we're just matching 0 and P for the filter class. It's now creating all the images for us, and those will be used to populate the template when they're completed. We can't interact with this window, it's just here for the visual cues. And then when it's finished, we'll get the template generated, and we can see our final results. So this is the first page here, it's the results summary page. Any scores that are in a dark bold color, like dark green or dark red, indicate that those are mandatory in the monitoring phase. So in this case, all of my mandatory channels have passed, and then my monitored channels in light green are also passing. So that's good. However, I do see one fail here, and this is an additional check which this template conducts. So if we go to the next page here, we can see this head excursion plot where we have the head excursion on the y-axis and the time along the x-axis. And there's a stipulation in the protocol that says that the analysis needs to run for at least 1.2 times the time of maximum head excursion. So to figure that out, we first need to compute the time of the maximum head excursion, which we calculate automatically for you by using the head and the sled nodes provided in the automotive assessments user data. And then once we have that time, we can multiply it by 1.2 to create this datum line here, which tells you the threshold at which we need to cross. So because this curve doesn't quite cross into the green zone, that unfortunately means that we have failed this check, and so we would need to rerun our analysis with a slightly longer termination time. The next slides here show us the correlations for the various sensors. So here we have the head angular velocities, and we can see that we have the channel tags and names as well for the simulation test data. So if these did differ, it would be easy to identify them. The simulation curve is in red and the test curve is in blue. And then we have these corridors which are used to compute the corridor rating score. And if it stays within that zone, then we get a better score than if it deviates quite a lot. We then have the slope, the phase rating, and the magnitude, and those are computed for the cross correlation. Those images are actually output into the output directory, but they aren't displayed here because, generally speaking, they're quite hard to interpret, so the scores are more useful for those. Then last we got the ISO scores for each of those channels and the maximum amplitudes of those channels, which is then used in order to compute the weighting and the final combined sensor score for these 3D channels. That's very similar for all of these channels here. Notice that the monitor channels are appearing with parentheses around them to show that although they pass, they are actually just monitored. And then if we scroll down and look at one of the other options, this is a single 1D sensor. And in the 1D case, we just have one graph, and then we have the data presented in a single line here. And there is no weight for a 1D sensor because it's essentially weighted by 1. And then at the end here, we have a summary page showing us all of the results in one place.
I hope you found this video useful. You can contact us with any questions about your NCAP VC1 template, as well as any requests and enhancements that will help you with your virtual testing workflows. Thanks for watching.